my friends, I'm glad you're here today. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for clicking that video. Thanks for all the likes you give and all the comments. I just want to say that right off the bat. I appreciate it. I know there's so many of you who enter the comments and you're like, I like the video right away. And I just thank you for your support. In this video, I want to piggyback off of a thought I was having on the couch the other night, which was, why aren't we talking about these certain products anymore? Like, why are there some that kind of rise to the top and get fairly popular and then just kind of sink back under the radar, leaving you wondering what happened to them? I want to do a full face, like, calling out different things of that nature, okay? Because as I was sitting there, I was just having this product and that product pop into my head, like, what about this? What about that? Some of them might even be things that I've talked about a little bit more, but I feel like the wider YouTube space doesn't. Kind of got started thinking about it when I used that e.l.f. Camo CC cream, and I'm not sure if I put it on in a video or was just talking about it, but it was a very good full coverage product, like just applied and performed really well. And I do remember a time when it got a lot of buzz, but just nothing to be said about it anymore. And I think the real reason is probably just simply the fact that new things come along and it kind of pushes the older things out. And as you know, here on my channel, like, I'm not doing any sponsorships, I'm not in cahoots with anybody, but maybe some of it comes back to brands that reach out to a lot of influencers and who create a bunch of partnerships and sponsored content and things like that. Certain brands are doing it more, making it appear that they're being talked about a lot, when really it's something that the brand is orchestrating, you know what I'm saying? So that's something to wonder about as well. Now, e.l.f. is a brand that I feel like gets plenty of buzz. I feel like everybody's often talking about e.l.f. But what happened to this liquid poreless putty primer? For me, I really like this primer, but I rarely use it anymore, and I don't know why. I think it might just be placement in my drawer, but you know, if other people might be talking about it, it might spur me on a little bit, right? It goes on so smooth. I feel like it always looks good paired with a variety of different foundations that I might apply on top. It's like they just took their putty primer in the little jar and they made it so user-friendly, easy. It feels just kind of cushiony on the skin, just super comfy and nice. I do think it has an impact on pores as well. So for me, it's kind of like, why does the gripping get so much love? And they're, you know, gonna send people vats of the gripping primer, but this stuff, like, this is a really exceptional primer, I think. Here's another brand, guys, bareMinerals. Ooh, I feel like we've got to keep bareMinerals alive. I pulled out the Complexion Rescue today. They call this a tinted hydrating gel cream. I have it in cashew. I remember so loving their Complexion Rescue foundation stick. That stuff was golden. I wore it in cashew as well, but that's not around any longer, unfortunately. Very old product that has bit the dust. We're gonna use the Complexion Rescue tint. I'm just going to dab this around and then blend it in with a brush. This is really light coverage, so don't expect a ton out of it. But also just bareMinerals powder products too, you know? I do believe bareMinerals is a brand that does have its certain loyal hardcore supporters, people who want to be using that brand and nothing else. But in like the social media space, it seems like they just don't get tons of buzz. But I'm going to blend this in and you're going to see, like, yes, it's going to give me some glow. It's going to offer hydration. There's an SPF in this too. Blends in nicely. It's got SPF 30 in it. I'm thinking about like something that everybody's pretty familiar with, like Wet n Wild Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator. Probably coming in with a little less coverage than that, but also a little more moisture, plus it has that SPF. But in the spectrum of tinted products, the Wet n Wild actually ranks very high, I think, in the amount of coverage it gives. It's kind of like just a lightweight foundation, you know? By the way, another Christmas sweatshirt. And we got snow, guys. We got snow and sleet last night. I don't know that it's gonna amount to a snow day, but it did happen, and I could tell as I looked out the window, even in the darkness this morning, that there was some stuff on the ground. Just hope I can get down and back up my driveway. Should I check the school closings list again? I know I would get an instant text, but my 90s kid self still thinks she needs to check the list. Okay, not yet. Looks like a bunch of Southeast Missouri schools right now. Why don't we talk about NYX Can't Stop Won't Stop anymore? This is a fantastic concealer, not too heavy, wears really well, very reliable concealer. I have it in the shade Vanilla. I don't know why I haven't reached for it a little more often. I'm just kind of asking the question to us all. And this whole range is really good. Honestly, I'd be into their foundation a lot more if my pump didn't totally get jammed and stopped working, and I tried everything and I couldn't pump product out. But the foundation's really long wearing too. But this is a good concealer for just kind of staying looking the same all day long. Not too heavy, but also not giving you a lot of moisture either. It's not maybe like your most advanced formula. I feel like when NYX put out the Bare With Me concealer serum, they made it a little bit more like, okay, this could really help out a lot of people who feel like concealer is always too drying on them. But my usual take is with enough skin prep underneath and enough self-control in the amount of product applied, I can make these things work for me. And I'm dabbing over with my foundation brush. Oh, good. Because we needed a little coverage help. You know, the bareMinerals wasn't giving us much, but everything's layering up really nice on that primer. Yes, I'm staying on bareMinerals for a second, and I know I haven't done a full bareMinerals look, but what about their little concealers? You know, like Well Rested, and this is the one called Bisque. The most full coverage little powders in the game. Like if you were doing a bareMinerals look, this would be concealer without adding anything else in. But then I remember like watching Emily Gemma, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing her name, but I remember how she was really talking about using this regardless, like no matter what, she'd use this as a brightening thing to perk up her concealer. And so I've got the Bisque and I've got the little triangle brush that for at least a while was being sold on QVC alongside the product. And I'm gonna like dab this in on my under eye. It really does add coverage. Now it's a much more potent take on bareMinerals powder than just the foundation is. So you do have to watch yourself. Like a thick amount of this would not be the greatest. But if you're really well moisturized, like it does do something. Like I'm kind of going down the side of the nose and then like pulling it out. Yes, I don't even feel dry to the touch up in that area, but I feel like I've put a fair amount of Bisque there. And there's summer Bisque, you know? These were QVC staples for a long time. By the way, I had QVC on yesterday. It was Cyber Monday. I'm shooting this on Tuesday. They had some really good beauty deals. I was watching a show about Tarte and they had just a lot of like multiples of products being sold for a really good price. If you're considering some of those core QVC brands, check QVC sometimes before you go on to like Ulta or Sephora just to see. They also were debuting a Man-Eater Stick Foundation. I almost went for it. I had just placed an order for some other random things on the website, just like gifts I was getting for various people. So I kind of cut myself off, but they had some good stuff. Why does nobody talk about this powder from Hourglass? Like, I know the ambient lighting powders are big. And then remember when they came out with the Vanish airbrush pressed powders? I have mine in the shade Translucent. They open up, they look like this. A little touch-up mode type of thing, you know? Nobody like raves on these anymore. Do we like it still? Like what happened? I'm gonna use it to set all over my face. I'm just gonna take like a powder brush, pick some up. It's just translucent, like I said, the shade I have. You can get different shades. It would be kind of a chic little purse powder, you know? It's really not doing anything groundbreaking in the setting of my skin. Like if I saw my skin looking like this and I was somehow completely separated from the process of application and somebody said, is that Rimmel Stay Matte or is that Hourglass? I'd say it could be Rimmel. I don't know. It's a very basic little powder with a high price tag. So maybe I get that the enthusiasm isn't super there, but maybe somebody out there can vouch for this. But I felt like at the time when it was new, there was a lot of buzz. What do you guys think? Do you put this on the same level as the nice little powders in the ambient lighting palettes? Because I feel like those get plenty of hype and people really like the textures, myself included. But why don't we buzz about this? Questions, comments, concerns. Here's a brand I'm going to be bringing back in a few ways in this video. Persona. Not enough talk about Persona. It's a really good brand. They're very consistent with the various things that they release. And I feel like they've put out really good products. They were maybe even ahead of the game a little bit with how good like their stick makeup was, their cream makeup. And then since their release of these things, so many other brands have like put out 8,000 different cream formulas of bronzers and contours and blushes, and I think just that simple fact kind of pushes them down a little bit. And it's also tough for the brands that aren't showing up in store, you know? But I'm going to use their bronze multi-stick in Dune. This has had a good amount of use for me. I'm like turning it into a lipstick type of bullet. But I like Sahara too. It's darker, and then they've got a lighter option too. But these blend so easily. They're super creamy. How does this compare to the Rimmel I was just using? A little smoother in the way it goes across the skin. Rimmel feels slightly thicker. This just smooths on really easily, and I could put M Cosmetics in this same chat too. Like I was just mentioning something I used from M Cosmetics in a fairly recent video, but I'm thinking about them a lot too. Like, how are they surviving? Who's talking about them? I'm just pressing it in. You can see the ease of blending is totally there. Such a grade A, wonderful product. Look at my skin. My skin actually looks really natural right now, and part of that we owe to the bareMinerals Complexion Rescue, but everything that's gone on top has been somewhat light, maybe with the exception of that bareMinerals bisque. But my under eyes don't look bad either. And then while we're talking about that stick, let's do a blush stick too. I pulled out Bubble, this really fun, cool pink. Oh! I ain't scared. And that can be used lip and cheek too. I'm just gonna pull out yet another Sephora 56. I happen to own the mini from just like a free gift type of deal. So I split them up and use one for contour type products and one for blushes. But the pigment here is really good. And if you're into red blushes, they've got a beautiful red called Kiss. And do the blotted lip thing with them. You know, you don't have to wear them full on. Swipe it on like you're wearing lip balm and then just give it a blot, and it makes it extremely wearable. A cool, soft pink cheek might be coming back for me. Note how I'm just stamping it in. I'm not swishing and swirling. I'm not disrupting all the makeup underneath. I know we got powder underneath. A lot of these creams can cope just fine with a powder underneath. Just don't swish and swirl. Just pat it in. Oh man, here's a biggie for me. Great big one to talk about. Benefit blushes. Where are these now? Who's still on the Benefit Box Blush train? This is Willa. They call it a soft neutral rose. It has a satin finish. Oh, there's even a film in there I didn't pull. Oh my gosh. But remember when they kind of redid all their blushes and they released a bunch of different ones? And it's a very beautiful line. There's artwork on every box. Who's using and loving these all the time? I'm layering up a little Willa. This little goes a long way. And I already have a blush on, but I'm just gonna add some in. I'm hearing snowplows go by, and I don't think it's because there's a lot to plow, but I'm sure they're just salting, because we got a lot of sleet for a while last night. Not a lot of snow accumulation, but some on top of everything, I think. What's the weather even supposed to be like today? Sun and clouds mixed. I have 31. Okay, there we are with a little blush top off. Shout out to Benefit. Still love these things. Terra was one of my favorites. It's kind of a rusty color. I was just looking through my drawer. What about that Gwen Stefani line at Sephora? Who's talking about this anymore? She's got a skinny brow pencil that I use occasionally. The Hella On Point Ultra Fine Brow Pencil in shade 4. Let's use it today. It's a good shade for me. It's a cool brown, you know. Got a little spoolie on the other end. She came out with some beautiful red, like liquid lipsticks. The Gwen Stefani red lip. By the way, I saw her on a Christmas special last night on ABC, and I mean, she just looks incredible. Her glamour, I just love it. But is her brand still even going at Sephora? I don't feel like I've even taken note. Well, at the time I'm pulling this up, there's stuff on there and it's marked down half off. Sometimes that's a good sign, could just indicate like Cyber Monday deals. It doesn't look like they have the brow product on there anymore. But there's some lips, a couple eye palettes. I'm guessing it's on the way out. That should be like a white noise feature. Snowplows in the distance. Love that. I remember listening for that as a kid. We were by kind of a busy highway that my window faced, and I would always take note of snowplows. Friends, I don't even know about an underhyped brow gel that I own, so I'm just going to use Wet n Wild Mega Clear because she's been around for ages and probably doesn't get enough love. It's a classic gel in a tube. It'll slick them down, and they'll stay for as long as they want to. Could have gone a lot of different directions on the thought of an eye palette, and I'm going to put on my Milani eyeshadow primer. But the brand that really kept popping back into my mind was Viseart. An interesting thing has happened with Viseart where they've made their brand be much more accessible and realistic beyond just for makeup artists. I remember when they were on Sephora's website and they were nothing but $80 palettes, and we kind of talked about Viseart being just like an artist type of brand, but many of us got into those palettes too and really enjoyed them. And now they're off of Sephora, they're on their own website, they're on Beautylish, and I don't know if they're on Camera Ready Cosmetics or other sites, but they've taken larger palettes and they've made them smaller and less expensive. Newer released palettes are coming in less expensive. The prices right now on their own website are ridiculously good if you've ever wanted to get in on some Viseart. But I just feel like the brand has kept making things more and more affordable, but you never hear anybody talking about them. They might have a quiet community of fans that I just don't really know about, but I'm gonna pull one out today. I'm gonna use my Violette Autumn Doe palette. I think that's how you say it. Mine has a little broken shade here. It's a little risky to use it. It's kind of messy, but it's absolutely gorgeous. There's some brightness. There's also some really pretty muted tones that just support it all. And I'm gonna go up to this like sort of hint of rose in that neutral shade. But the pigment in Viseart palettes is outstanding. They're just so intense. I find the configuration in palettes to be very thoughtful and enjoyable. You can get world's most basic matte neutral palette ever from this brand. That was kind of their claim to fame. That thing that was on Sephora that everybody's like, oh, this palette's so good. But they've branched out a lot and gone into a lot of different directions. They have really impeccable shimmery textures. They're not scared to dive into some ultra colorful shades as well. So like I said, hopefully sales are still ongoing at the time this video goes up, but currently I'm seeing some big sales on their own website. Also, who's shopping for beauty on Beautylish? They've got quite a few, you know, high-end brands there. I took this shade and I'm just like blending out my edge, softening. There's this interesting kind of muted dusty plum up here that I would like to see enter the look. Looks like it's got a little satin finish. I'm going to pat that on my outer lid. We're just setting the scene for a little more color to come in. Oh, there's just so many really nuanced shades in the line, like just colors you do not see left and right. And even if it's a neutral and you're like, okay, well, that's pretty common, that's just a neutral, you really get to looking at Viseart's shades and you're like, no, they really did that differently. This shade right here, like a dusky kind of smoky plum. Really good. Taking my crease brush, nothing else added, and just softening that out a bit. The way they blend across the skin, the way they can move a little bit is just a thing of beauty too. Nice. I'm gonna take some of this like bright shimmer right here. You might be wondering, what's that gonna actually do? Looking pinky purple, shifting a little bit bluish. I think she needs to get in. So I'm going to use some of that with my Morphe M302. So this is the smaller size to what I just used on my outer corner shade. And I'm just going to let that kind of pat on the inner part of my lid. Oh, that's fun, because in any other palette, present day palette, like that type of shade would be some kind of flaky texture. They give you this color look, but it would be by way of sparkle, and they just give it to you in pure color, like it's looking pearly. It's like a pearly finish in that shade. I love it. The shade next door, actually, it looks like a straight light silver, but it truly has a little bit of maybe a lilac shift. And I say it may not stand out a ton from what we've just put on, but I want to see that gleam come off the center of my eyelid, okay? So I'm just patting it there with my finger. You wouldn't have to, but I do feel a good amount of control just patting with my finger. Oh, it's fun. I love that. I want to keep it kind of light because like my sweatshirt's sort of light and airy, you know, but it's just always so much fun to play with these palettes. I might take a little bit of like this shade down here. It is a shimmer. I'm using my Profusion small pointed brush. Just working that into my outer corner a little bit. Let that raise up some. And I'm also going to take that under the eye too, lightly and gently. What's your best casserole kind of dish that you make for Thanksgiving? I have 3 that I make that I absolutely love. It's a sweet potato casserole, corn casserole, like elite, and I love my green bean casserole. And I'm pretty much doing the green bean casserole by the book, you know? Those are my favorite things to make. Thought a snowplow was coming down our little bitty side street, but I guess not. There we go on the eye. It's just glowing. The lid, when you really zone in on that lid, it's just kind of glowing. I'm rolling back over to Persona on the mascara because of the mascaras I currently have in rotation right now. I do feel like this is the one that's the most like under the radar. Like we said, we talked about this. Persona is a brand I don't feel gets a lot of buzz, but I do think they deserve it for a lot of products. But this is their newer tubing mascara. You can always find room in the routine for a tubing mascara, right? I wonder what deals they've got going on their website, because some brands I think carry the Cyber Monday through the week. 10% off on all orders, 20% off orders $60 and up, 30% off orders $90 and up. Clicked on holiday sets. I know they've got a mini eyeliner collection that I do have and need to work in a bit more, because Persona does do a phenomenal eyeliner pencil. They've also got some bundles that include their sharpener, which is the sharpener I use all the time. Love it. Works so well. They've got quite a few different bundles with the sticks, with their like peptide lip treatment stuff. This is putting on a bit more length than the first time, I think. The brush, it has super short bristles, and I kind of like that because some product is coming off on them and laying down, as opposed to feeling like you're brushing through the tips of long bristles and never getting product to the lashes, you know? It's a very niche kind of problem to have, but I notice it sometimes with different mascara brush styles. I'm gonna go straight to lowers on this eye too. Of course, I'd love to hear in the comments section. I'm sure you've got some other ideas on brands or certain products that just seem like, who talks about them? Who's keeping them in business? That's kind of my ultimate question here. Who's keeping these brands afloat right now? Because the social media world isn't everything. That's always an interesting thing to examine when you look at a brand's best sellers on, say, like Walmart's website or Target's website, Ulta's website. You'll see things come up as best sellers that seem like they're rarely talked about, you know, in someone's social media content. But do those products have loyal time after time customers? I guess they do. Okay, I got a good girl on these lashes, I think. And as with most any tubing mascara, I would coat up like coat after coat, because if I come back over here now, well, it's able to build a little bit, but sometimes tubing mascaras can set up a little faster. So if you feel like you really want to build some more length, try going back right away. Like that's one pretty decent coat there on that eye. Okay, we're getting down here. And that's a pretty darn good lash for me. Your girl usually is not seeing that much length like that. This is good. I am proud of that product. By the way, the color of this tube was like the color of people's kitchens who had that goose decor. You know, like for a while in the 90s, everybody had this country goose decor where there was the goose and it had like a blue ribbon around its neck, and that was the basis of that whole color vibe, like a powdery kind of dusty blue. So specific. We're gonna go to lips now, and I would like to bring up a discussion about the classic makeup counter type of brands. Like this is Lancome. Beautiful lipstick. They had sent me a while back, like this line of lipsticks. They're pretty. L'Absolu Rouge, and this is shade 320 Hush Hush. We don't hear a lot of Lancome buzz, or Lancome. Would you rather I say Lancome? It's from the same girl who says caramel. I like to use Lancome while I'm snacking on my caramels. It kind of made some dryness pop out that I didn't realize I had on my lips. But it's a smooth, it's like a feels moisturizing, but looks matte. Not a bad product. I saw somebody else say in a comment somewhere, can't remember exactly where I saw it, but somebody was like, oh yeah, Buxom. A person had mentioned Buxom and they were speaking of it like it's been a long time since anybody's mentioned that type of thing. And I'm thinking, like, is Buxom not getting that much love? I feel like I mention their products fairly frequently. I pulled out one of their collagen infused lip serums, and this is in the shade Dolly Babe. This particular type of product I don't reach for as much as like their classic glosses, but these have kind of a lightness. If you don't like the stickiness of a Buxom gloss, you might like the lip serum idea, but I decided to pop that on top. I don't love how that's working with the eye though, the tone of this lip. I think I need to adjust. Oh, that gloss was on there for not even a minute, and I'm feeling a plumping tingle that's different from regular Buxom. Like it really, it feels like it's coming from within the lips, you know? But I'm not sure what I need to do color-wise to not offend the purples. This is just White Russian. I think I'm just gonna do some of that on here. This is just the regular formula gloss, because I just wasn't sure what to do, okay? Oh, my tongue touched that lip and now my tongue is tingling. I'm feeling like taking just a little bit more of this setting powder and like making sure the merge between blush and under eye is clean. Get it dabbed in here too. Cool. So that wraps things up. on these brands and products that leave me wondering, like, where did they go? Who's talking about them? Who's keeping them in business? Let me know in the comments section if you're one of them. But this video served as a nice reminder for me too, because part of why I'm choosing to pull these things out is because I also might think in some ways I'm overlooking them as well. Pull out those Persona sticks, those Benefit blushes, some bareMinerals, some Viseart. Let's go. Thank you for your time, everyone, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.